So we are live from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm so excited to start here. I have my very first guest on the PassionClass Languages and Travel Podcast, and my first guest is the lovely Nadia Dervish. Hello, Nadia. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joe. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I had to come all the way to Istanbul to get her because she is living, well, everywhere. Where were you just before Istanbul?
Where was I just before Istanbul? I was in Ankara.
Okay.
I was in Ankara just before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Capital of Turkey.
Capital of Turkey.
How long were you in Ankara?
So I moved to Ankara in 2023.
Okay.
September 2023, and then before that, I was in Valencia for a couple years.
Okay. Valencia, Spain.
Valencia, Spain, and then a year in Córdoba, Spain before
Okay.
that as well, and then before that, I was in Ankara again.
Yep.
So.
And now I know Nadia because we did CLS Turkish
That we
2
did.
years ago. Yes. Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, that's
Almost,
right.
yeah, exactly 2 years ago right
Yeah.
now, yeah. So what we're going to be talking about this time right now, if this is not already clear, I want to talk to Nadia about Turkey in specific because I know that she is one of the best informed people I know about opportunities to go to Turkey, opportunities to come to Turkey, what to do in Turkey. Also Turkish. You speak, in my view, very good Turkish.
Well,
You're very self-critical.
It's getting better. It's getting better. It's a journey. It's, the closer you are, I think the further away the goal seems. So
Yes. What you told me the other day, you're like, it's a moving, what did you call it?
moving target.
A moving target.
Yeah.
And it is. Because once you reach
Proficiency in a language.
So I know you from CLS 2 years ago, CLS being Critical Language Scholarship. So we both got an award for the U.S. government to study in Ankara for summer of 2022. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
That's summer 2022.
Yeah, to basically, it's a big scholarship to improve your Turkish.
Yeah, intensive 8-week program,
And it
cultural
was
elements.
intensive.
It was. I mean, it was 5 hours a day, and then we had language partners that we met with for what was it, like 8 hours a week or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And you were good then, but like where you are compared to me today, you're a lot further ahead.
Well, I've been here, right? I've been here theoretically going to class and, attempting to increase my knowledge. But I think, I don't know, we've talked about this, like, I think I was more confident back then. But also, I think I didn't know how much I didn't know back then. You know what I mean? And now I'm
that's
like,
you're seeing the moving target. Like it's like, oh, I've reached this level. Now the
there's
goalpost
still
is
so much more to go.
It never ends.
So much more to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's also the beauty of it in a certain sense. I mean, in a very frustrating, certain sense. But it happens occasionally, even as a native speaker.
It does, and I think so. Right now, I'm here. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I am doing a summer Turkish program, another one through Boğaziçi University, which is a public university here in Istanbul. One of the best universities in Turkey.
And it's beautiful.
The campus. There's a gorgeous view of the Bosphorus. Yes, that's correct. And a lot of cats, naturally, a lot of cats. But I'm doing this program through FLAS funding.
Okay, and now what is FLAS?
FLAS is Foreign Language and Area Studies. So I don't super duper know a ton about it. I just know that I got it and I applied for it.
Okay, good.
So, but it's
that's usually that's the main goal.
So it's money through the State Department, but then it's like divided up and given to certain universities. And so these universities are universities that teach less commonly taught languages. So like Turkish, Arabic, Swahili's on there as well. And so I got a summer FLAS grant. So for my program, they covered...
To come to Boğaziçi.
Yeah, but I chose that. I chose that. So basically, I applied for the summer FLAS, which is just the summer scholarship to do an intensive Turkish program. I got the award, and then I found the Boğaziçi program.
Okay.
So I know UW-Madison offers a program. Somewhere in Indiana, they do another program as well.
Do you have to be doing a degree in order to get that money, or can you take classes and get it? How does that work?
I think so. In order to be eligible for FLAS, I know that I have to be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours.
Okay.
So you do have to be
at one of the FLAS universities.
At one of the FLAS universities,
Okay.
I think. But we have another guy that took the CLS with us a couple years ago, Maurice. When I was applying for summer FLAS, he said you should also apply for FLAS from the university offering the intensive summer program.
Okay,
so,
aka Boğaziçi.
But no, so this would only be U.S.-based institutions.
Oh, okay.
So if I had, I don't know, say I applied for FLAS through UIUC, where I go, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, but I wanted to take the FLAS program, the summer Turkish program offered at Madison, then I would also apply through Madison for FLAS. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That's what Maurice did, and I think it worked out for him in the end.
Well, hold on a minute. So let me take a step back.
Yeah.
So Turkish, not so common. The stat I heard, I don't know how true this is, when we were in Ankara 2 years ago, was that there's just under 400, like 380, something like that, but under 400 American students who are studying Turkish.
Really?
At an undergraduate level, yes, in total,
Wow.
which is so few. Like, if you think about it, that is so few. And, and let's be honest, like, before CLS, like, I didn't know
to be fair,
any people studying. I knew 0 people studying Turkish. I started Turkish in like a private language school in New York called Turkish Connection, and I highly recommend checking them out. But I didn't know anybody getting university credit for it, like 0 people.
My university definitely didn't offer it. I think University of Chicago did.
Yeah, because I know they're a FLAS one as well.
Yeah, they're a FLAS one as well, but there's only a handful. I think probably under 10 universities that offer Turkish.
Yeah,
so.
And that's why I think that's why they have these scholarship programs. But what I wanted to get started is like, how did you get started with Turkish? Because it's such an unusual choice.
It is not so much for me because my father's from Northern Cyprus, as you know,
where they speak Turkish.
Where they speak Turkish, yeah. So there's some political stuff there. Basically, Northern Cyprus, it's only recognized by Turkey as a country.
Okay.
Like Turkey's the only country in the world that recognizes the Republic of Northern Cyprus. Otherwise, it's just the Republic of Cyprus, which is then including the Greek side as well.
I see.
So the island half of it speaks Greek, half of it speaks Turkish. But I grew up in the U.S. My parents moved over in the 90s.
And you didn't speak any Turkish growing up.
No, I didn't speak any Turkish growing up.
You're not a case of
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I'm not one of those lucky ones.
Now you're like, if I change that, anything.
I know.
Why am I doing all this work? I could have had it for free.
Absolutely. And I think my dad now feels the same way as well. But I think it was a different time back when my parents moved over. Assimilation was so huge, and then my dad worked a lot when we were kids, so it would have been. And my mom doesn't speak, and we would just come to Cyprus every summer, as kids.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we would go to Cyprus just about every summer.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
It was also it was so different because my dad is from a very small village, so it was a whole different world when we were growing up. And so, like I said, my mom doesn't really speak; she knows a couple of words. So I wanted to kind of explore that side of myself, and then I was in university, and I was just looking for something to do after I graduated, basically.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it was about learning. I don't know how I found CLS, but I did. I think it was somebody's blog that I randomly found, and so I looked up this program, and I was like, okay, I'll apply. And then, I'm remembering things as I'm telling this story now. But I remember I went to my university study abroad office and was like, do you know this program? Because I'd never heard of it before. And they were like, no, we're not familiar with it.
Oh, really? And instead of being we're like, yeah, but we'll research it and get it back to you in a couple of days.
Oh, no, they were like, looks a bit sketch.
Yeah, right. Because just when I hear the answers no, we haven't heard of it, I'm like, doesn't sound like they're going to be like, yeah, we'll look into it. It's handle it yourself.
Oh, God, but after I got the award, my face was everywhere, right? You know what I mean?
There you go, yeah.
And then it definitely became
win the
a thing
University
after
Scholarship,
that.
And they are happy as can be.
They're happy as can be. So, yeah, basically.
What university was this, if I can ask?
Oh, I went to Wheaton College.
Okay, Wheaton.
Wheaton College.
What state is that in?
That's in Wheaton, Illinois.
2 times Illinois.
Yes,
okay,
essentially 2 times to Illinois. So, yeah, pick Turkish because of my dad, basically.
So you applied to CLS the first time without speaking any Turkish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I came in, I did CLS first round in 2017.
Okay.
Actually, and we weren't even sent to Turkey.
Okay.
Because of the coup attempt back in
2016.
Yeah, so they weren't sending any programs to Turkey at that point. So
last week they had
it's on Beş Temmuz, the 15th.
They had all the public transportation free.
Yeah, I know.
So national holiday because there was a coup attempt
Mm-hmm.
in Turkey a couple years ago.
Yeah. So because of that, they sent us to Baku, Azerbaijan.
Okay.
So I went to learn Turkish in Baku, Azerbaijan.
How was Baku?
Baku, I just remember it being so hot, and I was staying with a host family at that time.
Okay.
Because that was a part of the program. The year Joe and I did the program was COVID, so we stayed in hotel rooms, which was a little bit different in Ankara. But I remember my host family picked me up, and I got in the car, and I remember being I'm really, really excited to live with you guys, and thanks so much for taking me in.
In English or Turkish?
Yeah, in English, because
okay.
I didn't speak any Turkish. They didn't speak a lick of English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nothing.
No, was that good or was that bad?
I think it wasn't great, because I literally had absolutely no Turkish going in.
Absolutely no Turkish.
And also, Turkish and Azeri are not the same language.
And they're not the same language.
They're not the same language. You know what I mean?
Although I will say, I watched. Now, this was specifically a Azeri girl doing a little YouTube video for people who speak Turkish. And I was like, oh yeah, I can follow like how she's talking, but she was also talking slow. It was for foreigners and people who speak Turkish.
Yeah, I think once you have a certain level of Turkish, then you're fine. But then when you're coming in, you're with absolutely nothing.
Right. Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
But then at that point, also I didn't know, north from south, so I didn't quite literally. I could have told you north from south in Turkish.
Yeah.
Or Azeri. But I remember with the critical language scholarship, there's a lot of like cultural things that they do, cultural excursions and things like that. And we got invited to the ambassador's house or the attaché of something. I don't know.
Okay.
And so
in
Baku. But obviously I had to tell my host mom I wouldn't be home for dinner.
Okay.
So I remember I was like, I'm not going to use Google Translate. I'm going to like do this on my own. And I really like knew the words for like house, food, man, and important. So I went in and I was like, I'm going to an important man's house for dinner. And she just goes, no, you're not. And she says, hired. Hired.
Yeah.
And I was like, Nidad, like, why? And she goes,
God.
no. And pulls in host dad, explains the whole thing, and he's like, yoke. They like cross their arms. They're like, you're not. And I'm like, something has been lost in translation.
Right, exactly.
Something's been lost in translation.
I think I already know what it was.
Oh, they thought I was going on. They thought I was going on a date. They thought I was going on a date, and I was like, no. The whole. They were like, oh, it's fine then.
Yeah, but the part of the program is different.
I know. I was like, why are you saying no? And they were just very adamant no.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
So how far did your Turkish come that first summer? Because so you guys was it the same thing? Were you guys in Baku for like 2 months?
Yeah, okay. We were in Baku for 2 months. So I mean, how much did my Turkish? I still didn't know future tense at that point.
Okay.
Because I remember. So they have you do something called an OPI,
right?
Which is the oral proficiency interview, and it's a telephone conversation. So it's really just like verbal fluency, which is I don't know. I prefer that, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I remember at that point I'd only ever had female Turkish teachers.
Yeah.
So then it was a man on the phone to do the OPI,
that is
and it threw me for a loop. And I remember he kept asking me like, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" And I'm like, no. Gidiyorum. You're only using present continuous tense because I hadn't learned future tense at that point. But I could, form a sentence, and you learn kind of the nasılsın, hoş geldin, hoş bulduk, like just kind of the everyday things that you say while you're here. But I mean, I don't know. It was hard. I just remember it being so hard.
I remember you told me that your director at the time, which I really respect at anything beyond the A1 level, like anything beyond the like very basic level, I definitely think it's the right thing. I remember you told me your director said like no English even among like English speaking participants. So
yeah, well, with the CLS, like you're supposed to kind of sign a language contract, right? Saying you're only going to use Turkish with each other, which, to be honest, with the participants, we didn't really. But in class, like our teacher, she didn't speak English. She spoke, Turkish, Azeri, and Russian.
Yeah.
And there was a boy in our class, Austin, and Austin spoke Russian. So if we had questions, we'd be like, hey, Austin, can you, Yeah. And so he would speak to her in Russian, and then he'd come back and tell us what we had missed. But funnily enough, he met a girl, Katrina, during CLS. So this was 2017? 7 years ago now? They're engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're engaged.
That's always fun.
Gosh.
Are you
invited to the wedding? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to reach out on Instagram.
So a couple of weeks ago, we got word from our CLS teacher in Ankara that we are invited to her wedding, which is very exciting. But I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm so sad. I don't think I can make it. So
does that mean you're coming for my 30th?
I guess it does. Okay, so CLS, you did first course, summer 2017. Then how did it continue? Like you come out, you're like, I can't speak, I know what it feels like to learn a language too. I assume Baku was like a cool experience.
It was. I mean, I think I don't say I have low expectations, but I think I'm a pretty adaptable person. Yeah. So I don't know, I kind of just took it.
You're rugged. I've seen it. Yeah. No, you are go with the flow. I think a lot of people would be like, this water doesn't get warm enough for me, and I feel like you can go with that kind of stuff. Which is necessary if you want to come places like Turkey sometimes.
Absolutely. So I think
they don't have the toilets that we're used to. They only have Turkish toilets.
Sometimes,
you gotta make it work,
Oh gosh. Yeah, well, actually this is I'll share this story, why not? It was during CLS, and we had gone to some like mountain village for something, and we were all on the tour bus. This is in Baku, and we stopped at some little like gas station thing, and it was almost like an outhouse type of situation. It was a Turkish, what do they call it? Yeah.
Turkish toilet.
Yeah,
right?
Turkish toilet. So it's like the squatty potty, essentially, right? And I'm in like a jumpsuit type of thing. So you have to like take it off, and so I was just like in my bra, but it was like an elevated platform. So I was in the bathroom, but I'm quite tall. I'm 5'9". So it's just like I was just there like in this bathroom, and all of the Turkish teyzes were, everyone was cracking up at that point, you know, and I couldn't stop laughing at the time. So
well, that's a good reaction to have. That's the right reaction. Like that's good.
Definitely memorable. But so wait,
after Azerbaijan.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about my Turkish or just kind of whatever comes next?
Whatever, yeah.
So basically, I was in Baku and I had met a girl who did CLS who had done Fulbright the year previous.
Okay, Fulbright.
So she Fulbright through the U.S. State Department.
Now, I do know what Fulbright is, but remind us what Fulbright is.
So Fulbright, technically, it's an educational exchange program. You can come over as a teacher. You can go over as a researcher.
And anywhere in the world.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think most countries, what's unique about Turkey is it's a bilateral commission. Okay. So both the U.S. and Turkey put money into it. So they both have skin in the game, essentially, with this one.
Oh, I like that. I like that approach.
It is a little bit better.
I know with Fulbright, I mean, I don't think you can go to like Iran, but I was like looking, they have them obviously for Western Europe. They have them for all of Latin America, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Jordan, like anywhere. Like you pick your country and you can go pretty much. That's not true because it's very competitive.
No, I think definitely me having CLS kind of, you know, as an experience on my resume helped me get Fulbright. But so then I went back.
You applied to Fulbright for Turkey.
Yeah, I applied to Fulbright for Turkey, and I think...
Did you apply as an English teaching assistant?
Yes. Okay. So I applied... Turkey's got a few different options. You can come in as a master's student, you can come in as a researcher, a senior lecturer.
I'm thinking about the master's student option. That's on my brain now, but sorry, you can keep
No,
going.
you're good. So I came in originally as an English language teaching assistant, as an ETA, and Turkey is a little bit different. Some countries... I don't know. In Turkey, as an ETA, you're placed at the university level.
Okay. Oh.
You're placed... So yeah, you'll only interact with university students.
I think that's kind of nice, actually.
No,
it's a lower stress in a certain sense.
I definitely preferred it.
Yeah, because I think like the Fulbright program is then fully funded. They pay your travel, and then they also pay your housing, I think, too, or living expenses.
Yeah, so you get like a monthly wage, kind of like a stipend, and then they do give a little housing bonus on top of that. And then I think obviously they cover flights to and from. And then
is your visa pretty much guaranteed?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say that for sure, but
right.
No, they'll help you out with anything that you need. But one thing I will say about the application process, so I got back from CLS and it was August, and I think the application deadline was maybe October. So I threw together an application, but a lot of times when you're still a student or even after you've recently graduated, your university will want you to apply through the university.
Yeah.
And so they'll endorse you as a student. So I didn't know this because I had never really looked into applying. So I created my application and I had listed Wheaton College. And then the Wheaton College office got back to me and they were like, you missed the deadline. They weren't super nice about it, by the way. They were like, you missed the deadline. We are not endorsing you. This is a very competitive scholarship. You should have put more time into this application. I got told off in that email and I was like, sorry, I didn't realize. So then I applied kind of as an open free agent kind of type of thing. And I got it.
There you go.
And I got it. So yeah.
It's like Michelle Obama in Princeton, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah.
So then, while I was waiting to hear back about Fulbright, I waitressed for a year in Chicago, which was definitely... Learned a lot there as well. But then, I moved to Ankara in 2018. 2018. And I was there with Fulbright from 2018 to 2019.
Okay.
I was teaching at Boğaziçi University. They have this thing called Hazırlık, and it's like a year-long prep school for students. So they go and they just learn English 25 hours a week before entering their chosen university departments. And then I had the option to renew. I applied to renew again and do Fulbright a second year. But I would have had to change cities. Yeah. And I was really happy in Ankara at the time, so I decided to stay.
You're still happy in Ankara.
I was still happy in Ankara.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
It's
like 6 years later.
You're an Ankara girl now.
I am. I'm an Ankara babesi.
Yeah.
An Ankara baby. So, I decided to stay on my own, which was a little bit stressful, but that summer I worked at Robert College, which is a high school here.
Okay.
At an English-speaking...
Here
being Istanbul, yeah. English-speaking summer camp. So a camp counselor named Fifi for a few months.
Nice.
And then that same summer, I also did an internship at UNICEF in Ankara.
Oh, wow.
In their communications department.
You're getting...
I ticked a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
Ticked a lot of boxes that summer. So that was good.
So now you're doing your PhD, or not your PhD, your EDD, your doctorate.
My doctorate.
Fancy doctorate. That has also led you back to Turkey.
Yeah, it did. So I think when I started teaching, I don't know, I hadn't really taught before, right? And I was just thrown
Right.
into a classroom here. And so I really kind of got interested in this native speaker privilege.
Yeah.
Because I was confused. It's like I was the default authority and I had never taught before.
Right.
And there are literally people with like PhDs in linguistics in the
Right.
department. They're like, well, ask the 22-year-old native.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't know. So then I got
But
interested
ironically,
in
at the same
that.
time, you can almost always produce it right. Do you know what I mean? Like, even as, because you know the battle in a foreign language, I'm doing my master's in German, and I'm like, yeah, I speak very good German.
Yeah.
And in a certain sense, I do. And I've spent close to 4 years in the German-speaking world, like 3.5 years. But then at the same time, there are certain things, like I have probably studied as much German grammar as any German high school student or more, but at the same time, they're going to always do it right, and I'm not. You know, and like there is something to it. Like we might not know the rules, but that native speaker thing matters so much.
It does. I think the case being made now, or at least it has been made for like 20 years, kind of in the world of English language teaching, it's like English is not being learned to move to the US, to move to the UK,
right.
move to Australia. You know, it's like you're using it to interact with the entire world.
Right, you're using it. If you're yesterday, literally right downstairs, there was a guy from, I'm not sure where he was from, but his native language was Arabic, and there was Turks, and they use English.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because it's the global language.
Yeah, it's a lingua franca, you know? So, that should impact how we teach it then.
It should, of course.
So, and I think that was kind of my thought process, and then...
Right, because it doesn't matter if there's these little mistakes.
Yeah, essentially, and it's just people just need to be able to communicate and have confidence in
communication and confidence,
in fluency.
And that's true for Turkish, too.
It's true for Turkish, it's true for Turkish as well.
Communication works for you, the confidence not always.
No, not always. It comes and it goes.
Right, exactly.
It ebbs and flows, does it not? But yeah, so I basically, when I was first in Turkey teaching, I realized I didn't really super know what I was doing. So I went back and I did a master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages. And I always had that idea, like I would love to come back to Turkey to do research for a doctoral dissertation. And I was like, and if I could do it with Fulbright, like it would be amazing. But I wasn't, you know, obviously I did end up getting it. But at the time I wasn't sure, you know, it felt like such a long shot. And I don't know, even as a teacher, I definitely see myself more as like a facilitator. That's definitely my teaching style. So I've never really seen myself as like a staunch academic either.
Yeah.
And so I really thought like Fulbright was only for those really hoity-toity, super duper smart, like, you know, really studious. Obviously, you know, I'm a hard worker, but there's a different type of, when you think doctoral student, I'm generally not what comes to mind.
Right.
So I think, I don't know, I'm really glad that I you know, applied and I got it, and I think it also has given me a sense of, I guess, confidence and then credibility in my academic abilities as well.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to take a quick break, a word from Passion Class, and we'll be right back. This is Joe from PassionClass.net here in Istanbul in Taksim Square. If you want to learn Turkish, you can sign up for our classes at PassionClass.net. And by the way, not only Turkish, we've also got Spanish, English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Arabic, Dutch, you name it, we've got it. I myself teach a study abroad class. You want to study abroad somewhere and you don't want to do it with a private company, spend $20,000 a semester, I can help you do that. I've done it myself multiple times, and I can help you do that. So, interested in learning more about travel, passions, languages, check us out, www.passionclass.net. Okay, we are back. Welcome back. So we still have Nadia here. She has been telling us all about her experiences, her multiple experiences in Turkey, all the scholarships she has won. Not all of them, actually, but some of them, so that she can come here study. And you know what? Write these down, because this is gold. I mean, if you want to come to one of these places, most people don't know like how they can come and spend a year in Turkey or 9 months in Turkey and have it funded, or 2 months in a summer program like CLS, like Critical Language Scholarship.
Yeah.
And if you Google that, it's Critical Language Scholarship Turkey, I'm sure it's going to come right up. You know, that's a summer program, and I know they accept people with no Turkish background.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably, I think, some of the draw, because some people are like, well, why did you pick Turkish,
Right,
even in
why
our
did you pick
program? And they're like, well, it was the one that didn't have any language requirement.
Right, you can do it,
I think Arabic had maybe like
Arabic.
at least a year of college level study. So.
Right, absolutely. So tell me about ARIT.
Okay, so ARIT, technically I've never actually gotten ARIT. I've applied for ARIT 3 or 4 times. So
what does ARIT stand for?
So ARIT stands for the American Research Institute in Turkey.
Okay.
And I haven't actually gotten this one, so once again, not an expert on it. But I think ARIT and Boğaziçi kind of have a partnership for this summer language program.
Okay.
So you can apply, and they say for advanced level Turkish.
Okay.
You definitely don't need to be advanced. I would say intermediate.
Right.
Intermediate at best. Probably you need to have at least a year of college study under your belt, I'd say, to apply for the ARIT scholarship.
Okay, that's fair.
But similar thing, they pay for the tuition of the program,
Wow.
cover your flights there,
Wow.
and then also you get a pretty sizable living stipend for the summer as well.
Okay.
To be completely honest.
This is a summer program.
This is a summer program.
Okay.
It's I'm just going to call it the ARIT and Boğaziçi partnership because I'm not quite sure how they call it
together.
otherwise. Yeah. But then I also know with ARIT, you get your OPI scores, which is huge because I would love to do an OPI, but I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to go pay to take this oral proficiency interview. And with ARIT, they have you do one when you come in and then one when you come out. And then that's also then the same oral proficiency interview that CLS uses.
Yeah.
So you come out with a certificate then kind of showing your stated level, which I think is great.
So that's amazing. But so let me take a step back here. So where we left off, you were CLS 2017 in Baku, Azerbaijan, then waitress in Chicago for a year, head back to Turkey, you head back to Ankara, or head to Ankara, I guess, really,
Ankara for the first time. For the first time.
Next year on a Fulbright as an English teaching assistant. I know you were in Spain for a while in between.
Yeah, I was in Spain for about 3 years.
Yeah, like, how does Turkish continue for you then after that?
So, I mean, I came, when I did Fulbright, I enrolled in classes. Theoretically, your university is supposed to offer you classes, but I think it kind of depends on the university you're working for and how it works out with your, what do they call it? I don't know, your advisor kind of, or your university rep is the word I'm looking for. So I took classes at a local language school.
Okay.
In Ankara.
In Ankara.
In Ankara, actually, I took.
So this is still during the Fulbright
This is during
year?
the Fulbright year.
Okay.
I took Turkish classes at Turkish American Association, where I actually ended up working as an English teacher for one summer as well. But I wouldn't say like my Turkish improved dramatically from that. I think.
Right. I did that too. I was an English teacher in Spain for a year, and when you're working in English, you only improve so much.
Yeah, and I think also for me, my mindset coming in that first year of Fulbright was, I don't know, I've had so many, I don't know if you've had this here, so many people come up to me and say, well, I've never spoken with a native English speaker before.
Right, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, as a native, like, what is that called? The double-edged sword? Like, most of the time, being a native English speaker is a blessing because the internet is in English. Like, everything's in English. Netflix is in English. Like, obviously, there's other languages, but unequivocally, the most information is available in English today in the world. And information that is coming out of Germany and Austria and blah, blah, is half the time not even written in German. It's only written in English because they want to be able to reach a global audience. My point is, like, that being a native English speaker is such an advantage in so many ways, except if you're trying to learn a foreign language.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. I think, but then also like small plug. I'm speaking with other English teachers, right, at the university level, and I'm the first native they've ever interacted with.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is only I think makes a stronger case then to like change how we teach English. You know what I mean? Because it's like really, what's the purpose nowadays? But then I think also then my first year, like I felt a very big responsibility to then, I don't know, speak English and like practice English with anybody who wanted to practice,
Absolutely.
you know? And I didn't.
I get it, that was your job.
Yeah,
right?
and so I didn't really, and I also didn't know like how much longer I would be in Turkey, that type of thing. And now it's more out of laziness, I think, than like a sense of, responsibility that I sometimes just default to English. But yeah, definitely that first year. I don't know if my students wanted to meet and hang out and speak in English, or even we'd be like, let's do a conversation exchange, but it would always switch to being primarily in English, which that first year I was fine with because I felt like, that's what I was being paid to do.
Right. Who would have thought, like, did your family think, even though your dad's from Turkey, that you would end up spending so much time?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's funny how this happens because I love Istanbul, for example. You're an Ankara girl, as we heard, but I love Istanbul. Now, let me ask you about something else. So, how many years in total have you spent in Turkey?
I guess I don't know. Well, it's hard because with these scholarships, right, you come in September and then you generally like leave in June.
Right. So they're never full years.
No, I've done like 3 8-month stints at this point.
So, but that's still a lot of time.
Oh, it's a substantial amount of time. Yeah,
right.
It's
so,
a substantial amount of time.
You're a single female traveler. How do you feel being here alone? Do you feel safe? Like, how does that work for you?
I mean, I could definitely feel safe. I feel a lot safer here than I did when I lived in Chicago, to be completely honest. I think I feel safer in Ankara, maybe just because I'm more familiar with it, but I also just think it is also a safer city.
I think Ankara is super safe.
Yeah, I think Ankara is super duper safe. I walk home at like 4 a.m. Sorry, Mom, but no fear at this point.
That's my impression of Ankara as well, that like Ankara feels like a very safe city to me. Like when we were there, 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so safe in Ankara. Like
at least definitely the neighborhoods we were in. We were in like Bahçelievler or Tunalı, Ayrancı.
And that's always important, of course. That's an important thing to consider because, and Istanbul, like central Istanbul, it feels probably more like a New York or Chicago. You know, where like I feel very safe there. I'm also like a tall man, you know,
and very blonde.
Yeah, and very blonde.
Very blonde. So you stick out here.
But,
you stick out here.
But I feel, you know, very safe. Let me ask you 2 more specific questions. First is something like crime, terrorism style safety. How do you feel about that? And the second is, how do you feel about like a sexual harassment type safety living in Turkey?
Okay, terrorism crime level wise, there hasn't been anything like major that I experienced. Like I remember like 2 years before I first did my Fulbright, like they had the coup attempt, right? And there were, you know, participants in Ankara, and then like tanks were like rolling down Kennedy, and we were here.
Yeah.
And then obviously this wasn't, you know, a terrorist attack, but like a heinous natural disaster, the earthquakes as well. Like there were Fulbright ETAs in those cities as well. So I haven't experienced anything like that, but there was a bomb in Ankara. Yeah, near the parliament. I know. And I remember it was a Saturday morning, and like my phone rings, and it's Layla from the Fulbright Commission. She's like, "Hey, are you in Ankara?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Are you safe?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, there was a small terrorist attack.
Oh, no.
A bomb went off. Yeah, it was a suicide bomber, and he was the only person injured. Well, you know, fatally injured. So I haven't really, I guess. Well, I don't know. That is kind of scary. Like it kind of gave me. I was, and it's like I run. I know. I run past the parliament. So
like one of the messages I was like trying to convey is like I feel very safe here. But that's hearing that I'm like, oh, that's so, you know, that's so.
I know, and I think it's just like I've probably been in Turkey for so many years now that it's like that would have like really shell shocked me. You know, like if I was living in the U.S. and I think my parents are like, Nadia, what are you doing? But I think it's. It's isolated. I don't know. It's not something that I generally like fear being here. It's not something that I generally fear being here. Sexual harassment, I guess I can only speak for myself because I do know, like, especially a lot of women this past year in the ETA program had difficulties. They had difficulties. They were also in much smaller towns. My year, it was interesting. We were all placed in Ankara. We were 8 ETAs and we were all in Ankara. And then now they had absolutely no ETAs in Ankara, and they were all in different small towns, which is kind of the point to, you know, expose these smaller university towns to native English speakers. But for me, I think, I don't know, I've always felt kind of okay, but I think like I said, I'm adaptable type of thing. Like,
right, a certain amount of flexibility, like people interact here differently.
They interact, and you have to kind of keep that in mind. And then I think having a little bit of cultural sensitivity also goes a long way. I don't know, it's hot here. It's hot here in Istanbul, right? But you can't see, but I'm in long like linen pants and still kind of a cute little like white crop top type of thing. But I wouldn't be in like a white crop top and a short skirt.
Right.
You know, but you can do that. Like you're fine to do that here, but I know that I'm going to get looked at probably more, and so it will make me feel uncomfortable. And I think even, I don't know, when I ride the metro, I'll like kind of bring a longer linen shirt to kind of cover up a little bit just when you're in close proximity. So I think I take some extra precautions, which I'm a guest in this country, so I feel completely fine doing so. But I think that that's also helped me not draw unwanted attention to myself, essentially. Yeah.
So what I think is really interesting, what I was going to bring up, because you had asked me the other day, you were like, oh, you know, what do you think of going to Lebanon? So what did I do? I took a look at the State Department. This is what I usually do if I'm thinking about, this is what I did for Turkey the first time too. The State Department's travel advisories.
Oh, it's like a level, it says reconsider travel now.
No, that's how it was about 3 years ago.
No, for Beirut.
Oh, Beirut.
For Beirut, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So Lebanon got it's a reconsider travel. So there's 4 levels for the State Department. The first level is a level 1, exercise normal precautions. 2 is an exercised increased precautions. Level 2, but honestly, most countries are level 2. So level 2 include the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Turkey. You know,
but Turkey was level 3 for a while. No, like Turkey I think when I was here, like when I first came, it was level 3.
And well, the reason Turkey has a level 2, and the reason it was a level 3 is what they had described as arbitrary detentions. So, you know, but not like a super high crime rate. I don't know. I can't speak for the past, but as of today, when I looked it up, it was not because of like a high risk of terrorism or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think for Beirut right now, they were like risk of terrorism and kidnappings. But I think it's more kind of the situation that's going on in Israel and Gaza that is probably deterring me from hopping over to Beirut because I have visa issues, everybody. That's another part of traveling.
But so I looked up, and then for Beirut, I took a look. If it's a level 3, I don't know, I'm just curious. I looked at the UK government's travel.
Interesting.
And they, for Lebanon, they have a do not travel advisory.
Wow,
which
okay.
I don't know how you feel about this, but in my view, like Turkey, like Istanbul or Ankara, if you're a first-time traveler, it's a fair place to go, you know?
Yeah, I think so as well.
It's not like scary for me at all. I feel very safe. Like in Ankara, I feel so safe. In Istanbul, I feel like safe in the same way that I feel in like any major city.
Yeah, it's a major city. You know, I'd hold my phone a little bit closer here.
Right,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think there's pickpockets. Like I've had people, you know, I'm walking down the main street in Taksim, and like people are like, "Oh, come get a beer with me," and I'm like, I don't know how you're trying to extract money from me, but that's what it's about. Because why are you talking to me at all? It's a weird conversation start, very intentional, like that kind of thing. But like I feel in general, I feel very, very safe here. But when if I see like the UK government has like a do not travel, then I'm like, I'm not going to travel there.
And I think for me, like, it would also be my first time going to Beirut. So I think maybe if I had gone before, or known a friend, or had a friend in the city, then I would feel different about traveling there for the first time, even with the increased cautions. Although my parents probably wouldn't want to hear that. But since I've never been, I don't actually know anyone who's there.
Right.
So I'm gonna hop over to Bulgaria instead.
There you go.
For a week. For a week.
So I know you are staying in Turkey. You're staying next year.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Inshallah. I'm trying.
I think God does will it.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, we'll see. So tell me about your plans for that.
Okay, so as you know, I'm finishing up my doctorate in education, and my doctorate is through University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and it's also a 100% remote program. So I'm now ABD, all about dissertation, and I don't think that many people know this. This is interesting. So I did get FLAS funding for next year.
Okay.
So you can get academic year FLAS as well, and they require you to take a language course and then an area studies course, and obviously be enrolled 12 credits. But I got it, and actually I first got it last year, but I couldn't do that and Fulbright at the same time. So I thought that I would have to be present on campus to receive this award.
Right.
And so I contacted the FLAS office, and they're like, there's nothing that states that you have to be like an in-person student to receive this. So that's, I guess you can look it up online.
Right.
So I feel completely fine saying this, but it's like, I think you get $18,000 towards tuition as a grad student, and then a $20,000 stipend.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
That gives you the flexibility to do what you need to do for a year. And by the way, I don't know if we said this before, we might have. I know FLAS is Foreign Language Area Studies.
Yes, Foreign Language and Area Studies.
Yeah, if you're going to Google that, you will find it like that. But you're also enrolling in a master's.
Yeah, so like I said, I want to stay in Turkey another year, and I think my family will probably laugh at this, but I think I'm almost on the cusp of like real fluency, in this language. So I want another year to really try, I think, and really kind of get to that next level. And I don't know, it's just trying to find a way to stay in the country.
Yeah. Well, you technically have like the B2 certificate, I think, right? Or the C1.
Technically, I have the C1 certificate.
Great. You meet not language requirements then.
Yes, I do. I think it's still going to be like a struggle and a half. But I applied,
of course, yes.
I applied to, it's called OSPU, Ankara Sosyal Bilimler University, Ankara Social Sciences University. It's new. I think it's just under 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and so actually they have master's courses in English.
Okay.
So I applied to 2, one in humanitarian aid.
In English.
Joe really wants me to do it in Turkish.
Well,
I'm going to try.
That's great. And I know I also had the C1 certificate to start my master's in German at the University of Vienna, and that first semester was such a challenge. I got it done though at the same time. Like I passed.
Yeah.
And not only did I pass, like I didn't have the grades I was used to from home, but I didn't have like bad grades either.
Yeah.
Now it was a ton of work. I almost threw in a swear word right there.
I've caught myself a few times.
I had a full-time course load, but you know how like 12 credit hours in the U.S. is like a full-time course load, while 15 is really kind of what you need to stay on track for your academic progress to graduate in the required amount of time. That's kind of the full-time course load I took in Vienna, where it was like, I don't even know how many credits I finished, but it was, it was fewer than I would have done in English, and my grades were a bit lower, but at the same time, my German came so far, and I learned way more than I would have in English. And also you learn in a different way, you learn different stuff. So, I don't know, and because you also learn from the people who you're taking classes with, and they're people who might not even speak English, which would be amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm also like really looking forward to like, I don't know, being a student again. I've done my past 2 degrees online. I'm like dead excited to go to university. And funnily enough, Jessica, a girl that also did the Critical Language Scholarship with us in 2022, and she's from Puerto Rico. She got a job at OSPU, so she's going to be working there as a teacher, and I'm going to be getting my master's. And I also say this now, I'm not super sure what the regulations are with FLAS about being enrolled in 2 different universities. So let's just say that I'm just taking classes at OSPU in the fall for the residency permit.
Hey, that's fair. So, but that's the point. You get a residency permit out of it. I guess those are the 2 main things. So you have the educational opportunity, but again, it's getting a visa if you want to do a long stay program. Enrollment in a university is, in my view, the easiest way to get a visa to pretty much any country.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still definitely stressful, and so I think I would just stress that to people, that it's perseverance. Like, I don't know, I've cried in Gökçeada to see the immigration office countless times here.
Yeah.
You know, trying to figure out what I've done wrong. But I don't know, I did the same thing at the, what is it? Extranjero office and when I was in Spain. But they're a lot more friendly here. I think somebody brought me chai, somebody brought me some chocolates. Whereas in Spain they were like, fuera. please go cry outside.
If you're gonna cry, don't do it.
Don't do it in my office. But I'd also like to point out that this master's program, how much do you think it's going to be? The one in Turkey that I'm doing.
The cost?
As an international student.
Okay, as an international student. I mean, it's got to be. So
it's a state university, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm biased because I know my costs in Vienna. So I'll tell you my costs in Vienna. I pay €900 a semester, so about $1,000 a semester.
Okay.
So, and that's obviously cheap. So I pay $1,000 a semester.
Mine will be $500 a semester.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good. It's good to...
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Thinking of just the sheer cost in the U.S. I think also, I'm not sure I mentioned what I'm planning to study, though. So I've been accepted to 2 programs.
Okay.
One is migration studies, and then the other is humanitarian aid and disaster management.
Okay.
And I don't know, my mom was like, well, Nads, is it a reputable university? And I was like, it's not really the point as well. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm doing it in Turkish, I think, OSPU is obviously accredited university. But something like migration studies, doing it in Turkey.
Yeah.
Like, it's
the center of the migration world. I mean, both everybody's coming through Turkey if you're trying to get to Europe, and plenty of people are coming to Turkey anyways, and plenty of Turks are moving to Europe. Or trying to. So I feel like Turkey is like the center, at least in this hemisphere, like the center of world migration patterns.
Yeah. And then even for humanitarian aid and disaster management, there was a disaster here not so long ago, you know? So it's like and experience money can't buy, you know? Absolutely. So yeah, I think it's the right place for me
absolutely.
right now.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Nadia. I super appreciate your coming on here.
You're welcome,
amazing
Joe.
Wealth of information. Yeah. Who do you know who has spent 2 years or more in Turkey? Like, I know somebody. it's solo traveler, female, learning the language, maybe going to get a master's degree in Turkish. Amazing.
Inshallah.
So, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Joe.
See you next time.
Ciao.